the day. So just give us a second. We are almost there.
And we are there. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Happy International Day of Democracy. I'm Colombe and...
This is Andrea. Very nice to meet you.
And we have big announcement today. So the reason for which we are here together is we are the co-founders of Atlas. For the last couple of years, we've been mobilizing people across borders and doing a lot of stuff. I'm going to tell you about it in a second. But today we have two big announcements, and we want to tell you about it. So obviously, drop us your questions, comments, love, encouragement, anything positive, basically, in the comments on YouTube and Instagram. For our followers, you should have received the newsletter that went out to 24,000 people just a couple of minutes ago, and seen our posts on social media. So that's really exciting. So should we start by recapping what has happened
Yes.
or by giving the announcements?
I'm a bit nervous, so I think we should recap what has happened, and then we jump into the announcement because people are receiving another email with the announcement, hopefully clicking and like learning that we are sharing this news. So it's a lot to take in.
Yes, exactly. So let me recap. So as mentioned, I'm Colombe. I'm looking into directions because we have my phone for Instagram and my computer for YouTube, so difficult to manage. This is Andrea, and here's the background. In 2020, we launched Atlas as a global grassroots movement in order to try to come together across borders, to mobilize, to build up capacity in order to deal with global challenges. We did a lot of stuff. A lot of them didn't work out. Some of them worked out, and now we're here. So we basically organize people across borders to be able to coordinate actions on global issues. So take climate, access to vaccines, crackdowns on democracies. We said there's no way of dealing with them in isolation. We must come together. And once we are together, we must actually be able to work as one in order to pass policies to deal with them. Easy climate, no one will deal with it ever unless we all manage to take simultaneous action.
Right.
Same with democracy. We see transnational repression. We need to be able to take simultaneous actions. We live in a beautiful world that is very messed up, but also very interlinked. And unless we manage to take action and to understand that we are all linked, we don't really stand a chance. So we did a lot of campaigns for a couple of years, right? Like I can tell you about some of our successes while Andrea waves at people.
I'm managing the social media. Sorry for not speaking a lot.
Some of the campaigns that have been successful was, for example, we got health workers from across the world at the very, very beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic to ask the World Health Organization, which is basically the global organization in charge of health, to prioritize access to vaccines for health workers. What this meant was with every crisis, countries tend to act selfishly and in isolation, and we knew they would be hoarding vaccines, which they did. And so we said, it's impossible. We must coordinate. We must come together and we must take simultaneous actions. And the WHO answered. They said, yes, we'll push it forward. Health workers first. So that was great. Didn't happen, but it was good. And we organized hundreds of protests across the world in support of Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Belarus, Venezuela, in order to stand as one for democracy, pushing countries to coordinate sanctions. Just a couple of months back, we organized a boycott campaign, and because Russia, it's going to sound crazy, but it's true, was the president of the UN Security Council. Boring words. What it means is the UN Security Council is the most basically powerful body at the UN. Russia was the president, even though it's a war criminal, aggressor, and so on.
All of those things together.
Exactly. And presided it. We organized the walkout of 4 countries, which was a big deal. It shows solidarity. So we did all of this. We mobilized, we grew, we learned, we understood how to work together from where I am right now, London, to where I see Clive online is in Nairobi.
And someone from Colombia.
Exactly. From GM Castro from Colombia. Exactly. And how to coordinate action. And this leads us to today.
So the big announcement is Atlas is officially entering politics. We are working to become a global political party. The tagline is very simple. We are creating this global political party to unite people across borders, across division, and trying to strive for a free, fair, and better future. What it means in practice that Atlas, that was an advocacy organization for long, will become a political party running for elections across the planet. So in India, Kenya, Italy, even during the United Nations Secretary General selection process. So we're going to try to really bring our political vision across the planet in elections. Obviously, it's a very big, challenging task, but we have some experience in it. We have done politics before. Our members are extremely excited about it. And I also think that is extremely needed. I mean, you must be blind not to see how our politics today is completely ineffective in dealing with things like climate change, but even way more national and local problems like inflation, because often these problems are coming from outside countries, are coming from geopolitical tensions. And so we believe there is high time to create platform, a vehicle, a party that can unite anyone across the planet, regardless of the color of the skin, their religion, their nationality, or any other characteristics. Actually, if you think about it, it's surprising that it's not the case yet, that no one has created yet. We have technology, we have communication to do it, we must do it.
I mean, I'm sold. And we can see it's the case because on Instagram, I see people from Brazil, from Colombia, from different European countries and so on that are saying that it's a great news. And I couldn't agree more. And that's exactly why we managed to connect together. Why not actually enter the halls of power on coordinated platforms? So global politics, what does this mean? Let me bring the bad news first and then the good news.
What is the bad news? I'm not aware of any bad news.
No, there's bad news. So we don't have a global political system in which we can run for elections. The UN is undemocratic. And we've run for elections at the UN before. We made a mess and we'll tell you about it in a couple of minutes. But it wasn't fully proper. Basically, the UN Secretary General is not elected, he's selected. We still organize primaries, and our candidate was discussed at the UN General Assembly, but it's not the way to go. So we don't have a global election. So we can't elect, unfortunately yet, a parliament that represents us all across the world. We can't elect heads of state, citizens' assemblies at the global level that can take decisions in order to actually deal with our global issues and global challenges. It's not possible. What we can do, though, is we can work as if. So we can, one, be the proof of concept by doing global politics, by running for elections on a coordinated policy platform, political vision, message, and with similar actions. By coordinating policies once we have elected officials across the world, we can act as a global political party.
Exactly.
And then we can push for the reform and creation of a global system of governance that actually works. And so that's what it means. So basically, we'll be running for elections. Some of the elections coming up that we are eyeing are obviously the Secretary General selection process at the UN, but not only. Elections are coming up in India, Nepal, Kenya, Costa Rica, Brazil, Italy. I'm saying Italy like this because he's Italian. All of those are countries that we are working on and thinking about with our teams. And we are very, very excited.
Super excited. But I want to ask you, why do we say that we are a political party in the making? That's a very big question.
Because we are making it at the moment. No, in all seriousness, we're a political party in the making. Because for the next year, so let me recap. We are not new. Atlas has been in existence for 3 years. We've been running advocacy campaigns, as I mentioned, with successes, with failures, with lots of learnings, and with a lot of people behind. So Atlas exists. We are transitioning. This means that for the next year, we are going to build up national chapters that will become legal political parties. We are going to go around and register legal political parties across the world on every single continent. This will take time. And before officially starting to work as a global political party, to have a General Assembly and all of this, we need to establish a diverse membership of legal members doing politics across the world, from the local to the global level. So for the next year, until the 15th of September 2024, when we will have a General Assembly in Nairobi, Kenya, and online and with regional hubs, because we are global, and we are in the making. And we will use that time to anchor our message into local realities, to grow strong, to grow fast in order to be able to impact change. But since you like to ask me questions when I already spoke so much, tell us, what is our political vision? Why are we even doing this?
That's a difficult question. Actually, it's not. I mean, we have a very good surprise as well. Alongside becoming a global political party, we didn't think it was enough to just do that. We thought like, let's make our life more difficult. Let's actually build something broader than just a political party, but actually let's build a political vision that goes along with it. So the political vision we have created is called the philosophy of unity. Let me give you a short background because before jumping into it. Basically, Colombo and I is now 6 years that we are in politics and or grassroots organizing, and we thought a lot about what's the vision of the future that we would like to have. We have campaigned, we have pushed proposal, policy, and so on. And during this journey, we have met a lot of people that believe things that we build, so that people should have equality, that the climate crisis should be tackled, that authoritarian leaders should be stopped. But lots of these people, lots of volunteers, lots of activists, always said, yes, we know what we are fighting against, but we struggle to see the future. We struggle to know what we should advocate for. And obviously, fighting against this massive crisis is completely fine, what we have to do. But is it possible to keep on just fighting against something instead of proposing a new vision? And so for us, that was not enough. For us, it was very important to actually come up with a new vision and understanding where we want to be in 20, 50, 100 years from now, and not just tomorrow when we're managing a big crisis coming our way.
And just to clarify, by vision or philosophy, as we like to call it, we don't mean a group of policies that tell you we need to tax a bit higher income, and we need to decrease a bit this. We don't mean some of them are very good policies that are snappy and that you run on for an election. We mean a long-term societal vision. Kind of like, we had different political, economical, and social systems in the past. We had capitalism, democracy, monarchy, communism, and so on. Those are lines of thoughts that then political parties push forward, and with different sometimes adaptations, sometimes catastrophic consequences, but that you push forward. And a lot of people say, look, the current system doesn't work. We need something more. We don't have a global vision, and so on. What can it be? So over the last couple of months, Andrea and I put pen to paper and actually try to detail down our vision. And it's not because, it came out on top of our heads and whatever. It's because we are extremely lucky. As Andrea has said, over the last couple of years, we've worked with volunteers, with political leaders, with everyone from literally more than 130 countries, and through politics, through advocacy. And we got to listen and learn from them. We got to learn about what were the most urgent issues, what were some of the solutions already implemented in their communities, and what was some of the forefront thinking on certain issues. So we actually it's incredibly lucky, we got to think basically for 7 years about a lot of political issues and constantly try to organize actions on them. So when we organize a campaign with on women's rights, taxation of multinationals, democracy or whatever, it's not a random campaign. We have to think about the policies, about the implications, about the long-term vision.
Exactly. And so throughout this massive problem solving that went on for many years, we managed to synthesize in the last couple of weeks first document that, again, we call it the philosophy of unity, that for how we define it is a revolutionary manifesto calling for humanity to unite beyond differences. So basically, a big vision of the future showing how we can go beyond differences, because for us, this is the essence of our political war since forever, and work towards a fairer, freer, and better future. So you're gonna realize that there are three main values in the center. There's an overarching values, it's the one of unity, and that's why it's called the philosophy of unity. And then three qualifying principles that kind of guide this vision, because obviously unity can be unity in oppression, it can be unity in dictatorship, but it's obviously not what we are trying to do. So the three qualifying principles that we have are freedom, equity, and well-being. Freedom, because obviously, I think we all agree here, unity should not be imposed. So if people don't want to unite, we can vote for it, we can work for it, we can try to convince, but this never be imposed. Communist China is a definitely united country. Is definitely not the vision of unity that we have. Second is equity, because unless everyone across groups defined by race, gender, religion, socioeconomic class, nationality, unless everyone has access to the same rights and opportunities, or very close to a state where you have the same rights and opportunities, obviously in an imperfect world, there is no true unity, because it means that some people start from a better place than others. Some people have more opportunities than others. Some people can run faster than others. So equity is a fundamental element pillar of our vision for unity that we cannot forget in trying to unite the planet and humanity. And the last one is well-being, because we said freedom, so we need to be able to choose. Equity, we need to be all on the same, more or less on the same standards. And well-being means that regardless of which standard we are, we have to be sure that everyone lives a decent and high-quality life. And this is something that often is forgotten by politicians, by political parties. It's not okay that still in, first of all, very wealthy countries, there's a massive amount of population that are starving or in massive difficulties, despite the fact that there is so much wealth that you have skyscrapers being built for fun around cities. And outside the wealthy countries across the planet, there are so many people still struggling. While again, we have billionaires going to Mars for fun, or money being wasted for random I don't want to say, but it's true, like cruises and stuff like that from billionaires and so on. So clearly, well-being must be achieved. This means healthcare, this means education, this means housing, this means having the opportunity to study for free, and many other fundamental things that they should be given for granted right now. Like we've been discussing for hundreds of years, there is enough wealth across the planet to make this happen, but because of the problem we're going to list soon, this is not happening. So these are the three principles that we strongly champion in our vision of unity. Colombe, do you want to talk about the systemic reforms that are needed?
So quick reminder for everyone joining now. Today, Atlas has two big announcements. One, we are becoming a global political party. We will be doing politics all over the world, running for elections from Costa Rica to Kenya to India to Italy. It will be incredible. The reasons for which we're doing this is to implement our visions. We need to get political power, from parliaments to governments. We need to be able to come together. Andrea has mentioned that we're not just doing this for the sake of doing it, but to further the mission we have developed over the last years of campaigning at Atlas. And we've written it down. I've shared the link on YouTube and Instagram, actually. It's called the Philosophy of Unity. We've written down the thinking that has been developed and tried to codify it in order for Atlas to be able to bring it forward. And as Andrea just mentioned, the Philosophy of Unity is basically a manifesto calling for humanity to unite beyond borders in order to be able to create a freer, fairer, and better future. So it's based upon the principles of freedom, equity, and well-being. And Andrea has just gone through this. And we think that in order to be able to get to this beautiful utopia of a world that is more free, more equal and equitable, and where people's well-being are the priority, we need three systemic reforms. Number one, we need to democratize wealth and power. All of this is available on the website at length, by the way. So we need to democratize wealth and power. Number two, we need to ensure equity amongst groups. And number three, unite beyond borders through a system of global governance. The first one, democratize wealth and power. What we mean is that too often, everywhere, all the time, wealth and power are hoarded by the few. If you think about wealth, there's often a redistribution to the top, not to the bottom. So we think it must be radically redistributed and democratized in order for people to be able to unite and move forward as one. So for this, we put a lot of ideas into it, from extremely high inheritance to actually rethinking the way inheritance tax, yes.
It's been a long few weeks, yeah.
And definitely not very high inheritance. To rethinking the way companies are structured in order to enable more employee ownership. We need wealth to be democratized. We need people to be able to have access to it, not to be blocked because they were not born into wealth. Wealth creates wealth, power creates wealth creates power. And we need to put an end to this vicious circle. We need to democratize power. Just like wealth, power is hoarded. You can be born into it or not. And you can have more access to it thanks to your wealth or not. And in addition, we're not just looking at it for the individual level, but for the country level as well. Some countries, and we all know they're guilty, have systematically hoarded wealth and power to the detriment of others, and are still doing it today. If you look again at the lack and really shitty global governance system we have today, some countries are holding power. You have 5 countries in the UN that have a veto right on anything that basically matters. Yeah. How is that possible that some countries are basically first-class citizens and other countries are second-class citizens? It's unacceptable. We must democratize it. Same with resources, whether they be natural, whether they be monetary or other. We need to democratize wealth and power.
The second point is ensure equity among groups. I mean, as I mentioned before, it's fundamental for anyone that wants to build a vision of unity like us to understand that there are people that right now are starting from a lower point because of history, because of current discrimination, because of colonialism. There are obviously many different reasons for this to be the case, but cannot be justified anymore. Like as I said before, there is enough wealth in the world. We have the means to distribute this wealth. We have a way to remove discriminations, and it's not happening. So we must be sure that equity among groups happens right now. This means giving the freedom to everyone to be whoever they want, choose the gender they want, marry the person they like, having access, obviously, to basic human rights and basic public services. So equity among groups is maybe the simpler of our three radical reforms, because it's the one that every human being knows deep in their hearts that is the right thing to do. Is what we've been taught, at kindergarten. When you go to school, you know that you have to treat others fairly. There is no right if you have more than others. It's not more right if there are groups that are systematically discriminated in your classroom, like on your planet. And so it's clear that it's something that must change. And we put it front and center as a systemic reform because we believe that we cannot look the other way. We cannot, hope that suddenly there's going to be a lot of unity across communities, a lot of unity across countries, where, for example, if you're a Black person in France, I'll take an example that I know very well, you're 21 times more likely to be arrested than if you're white. I mean, how can you expect someone from that community to believe in unity? There is no unity right now. There is a system of oppression. And this goes from gender to race to religion to socioeconomic groups. So there are a lot of things that we must attack, we must correct. And we decided to present it from the point of view of groups. Because when we talk about people, individuals, I think now even right-wingers across the planet would agree most of the time. Yeah, of course, women have to have the same rights of men, blah, blah, and so on. But when you look at groups, it's not the case. If you look at, for example, gender pay gaps, it's clear that women don't have the same rights of men. If not, they will be paid the same. So we need to move past the idea of just individual rights and start thinking about communities and groups, because is there where you can see the big discrimination and big inequalities and inequities that we still experience.
And by group, we mean groups can be defined in a lot of different ways, right? It's based on your skin color, your gender, your nationality, the religion you profess, any distinctive characteristic that means that you have less access to power, wealth, less opportunities, and that you are more at risk. This is how we define groups. They're obviously intersectional, but this is how we define it in this. So again, 3 systematic changes in philosophy of unity. And 1, democratize wealth and power. 2nd, ensure equity amongst groups. And last one is unite beyond borders. At heart, we are global. We believe that we are one at Atlas. It's always been our thinking. And as such, it's absurd, stupid, and insane, and dangerous. And the adjectives could keep on coming. That we don't have a system to administer our planet as such, right? Climate is threatening all of us. Amazon not paying its taxes is threatening all of us and taking resources away from all of us. China's transnational repression is going to impact all of us, and so on, and so on, and so on. Yet, we can't be represented. We have an undemocratic system at the global level that doesn't have competencies and not enough legitimacy due to that. So we need to unite to create this system. So that's why we also launched Atlas as a global political party. It's because we think it's needed to get power in order to create a truly global system of governance that is democratic. But not only, we can't wait for this to happen. And if you go into philosophy, you'll see a vision for it and so on, but we can't wait to have an ideal system of governance. A lot of topics are transnational and we must take urgent action. From climate, when politicians love to point to individual actions in order to try to evade responsibility for their lack of action. We say, no, we need to unite. All countries must phase out urgently any fossil fuel. It's basically rule number 1. Rule number 2 is don't ask people to pay for the mistakes you made. So you polluted, you pay for it. You don't ask developing countries to do it. And then you also support, because any transition has to be equitable.
Yeah.
We talk about taxing of, I'm going into details, but taxation of multinationals, the fact that we need a global fiscal and tax system across the world. We need to unite to deal with all of our global challenges right now.
Yes, and Unite Beyond Borders is obviously something that we can carry also within our nations and communities, right? The way to solve climate change in London, in Toronto, or in Joburg is by understanding climate change can only be solved together. So obviously we can, as Colin mentioned, mitigate some of these effects locally and nationally, and wherever we can, we should fight these battles. But we must understand that from the local to the global, we cannot do it if we don't work together. We can, it's just not going to work. So these are the three systemic reforms that we want to champion. So we have, as mentioned before, three principles that are kind of our North Stars when understanding the vision of unity we want. We have three systemic reforms with a lot of ideas and policies we want to push forward. And then we have a road, what we call the road to unity. So obviously, if we could wave a magic wand, we would do everything tomorrow. But it's not going to happen this way. It's a cultural and political work, even spiritual from a certain point of view. So what we have tried to do in our philosophy of unity is to outline the road that anyone can start taking to advance this vision, and obviously then as a society through politics we can pursue, and as a planet as well. So there are three fundamental steps in the road to unity that we want to champion. First of all is individual behaviors. So if you go on our website, there are 5 actions. They are very feasible for anyone to take. Obviously, it's not like you take it once and you solve the world problems, but there are 5 behaviors that we can take and keep on pushing throughout our life, in our community, with our families. So simple things that if you don't have time, you're overworked, you are in debt and so on, so you don't have time to do politics, you can do every night at the dinner table to try to change a bit the world. It goes from being an ally when people are discriminated or pushed, in a corner and not treated fairly, or simply being present, being there for other people that feel lonely and do not see hope in their life. So these are very simple things that anyone can do. Then the second point is actually what we're doing with Atlas. So it's the one of creating a global political party. And hopefully there are going to be more than one in the future. Why? Because, as we said before, politics is failing, challenges are interlinked from the global level, which is obvious, but also national and local. So we need to create a place where people can come together beyond divisions, beyond differences, and advocate for the same vision. And by the way, this is also a statement in itself. Obviously, creating a global political party showcases unity in itself. And finally, we know, and this is also part of the philosophy of unity, we know that we're going to need an institution, a democratic institution that can complement the United Nations, or hopefully take in the long term the place of the United Nations, where me, you, anyone can vote for their representative and give competencies, sovereignty, and the ability, legitimacy to act to a global institution. If not, make no mistake, we won't solve climate change. We won't ensure that technology will not harm us. All these trends are too powerful, too big, too fast for national governments alone to deal with. That's why we're in this continuous situation. I mean, the climate crisis, let's say, obviously scientists know that since maybe 100 years, but it's in the public debate since where? The 90s, at least, the Kyoto Protocol. I remember it. I was very young, but it was already on my little history book. It's been, 30 years? What are the advancements? Very little. I mean, yes, we recycle a bit more. We know that we need to phase out fossil fuels, but it's not a news, right? It's treated as news. So it's clear that our current politics institution are failing. So this is why we need to build something new. And it has to be a political move.
Yes.
I think that's it. Colombia sold.
So you got it. We have 2 big announcements. We are doing politics at Atlas. We will run for elections all over the world in order to advance this philosophy of unity. I've been sharing online the links to both atlasmovement.org, atlasmovement.org, and philosophyofunity.com. And so go there, check it out. Both are linked anyhow. You'll be able to find our work. I want to mention 2 more things before we close. Number 1 is we are launching a crowdfunding effort. So for anyone interested in supporting our work, we are asking you to do so. It's on our website at atlasmovement.org. supporting the working with a global political party is expensive. It requires the organization of events all across the world, including a General Assembly that will happen next year in Nairobi. It requires the legal registration of political parties all over the world. It requires the prepping of candidates, communication efforts, and reimbursement for volunteers and so on. So we are members funded and members led. We need funding from members. So please, if you can, contribute to the crowdfunding. You can find it at atlasmovement.org/donate. And number 2, volunteer. Not only because it would be great for us, but because it will be great for you. You'll get to join a community of people from all over the world that share the same vision of what we need. And this is a luck in itself, I think. And so I definitely consider myself extremely lucky to have been able to work with people from literally every corner of the planet and learn from them over the last couple of years. And I hope you'll do the same. So join us.
Thank you so much for joining this live. I hope everyone managed to follow it. I noticed there were some problems with the email, but anyway, it's going to be here for a long time, so you can watch it here or later. We're very excited. It's been a very tough week or a couple of weeks, but I think it's completely worth the effort. Now we're going to have this mission and adventure for many years to come. And I'm sure that looking back many years from now, we're going to be thinking, well, we actually made it. We pulled it off from nowhere, and now we are here sitting in a better planet, a better society, a better civilization. Or if we fail, we're going to be very happy to have tried. We're going to be proud.
But we won't fail.
We won't fail. I think that we never fail. But maybe,
no, it won't.
To be humble.
No, it won't. It won't fail. It has
There's
to
no
work.
option. But it's going to work. We're going to try our best. And if you are following this live, if you read our emails, if you are following us on social media, I think it's worth participating. It's worth trying. Again, unless you're super happy with how the world works. And so probably you shouldn't be following this live because we don't believe in the same things. But if you think that the world is not working well, if you don't have hope that any political faction right now is able to solve it, maybe this is your shot. Try it out, be a bit brave, jump into it. There are many ways to participate: volunteer, donate, follow us on social media, spread the word. Depending on how much time you have, how confident you are, whatever you want to do. You can also be a candidate if you want. But don't stay idle, don't stay seated on your chair without doing anything, because the world is never being changed by people that stay seated, but actually people that stand up and look straight in the eye of the future and try to do something. So this is what we're trying to do today.
Very good closing.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day, everyone, and a happy Democracy Day.